Hey Zwifters, I'm Simon Schofield. This is Shane Miller.
G'day. How are you?
And this is Eurobike 2018. Welcome to the Zwiftcast special. Okay, Shane, well, let's start off by giving the viewers and listeners a very quick rundown of an extremely busy Eurobike. We're just about to reach the Elite stand, so I'll take Elite, okay? You can take Wahoo.
Okay.
So Elite have announced a crazily expensive but extremely beautiful smart bike, a new set of rollers, and a Drive 02, which they claim to be the most accurate smart trainer in the world. Hello, Tacx. So why don't you do Wahoo?
Wahoo? Well, today we saw Wahoo release or announce 3 products. We have I'll get to the most important one that I think last. First up, the Kicker Core.
Yeah.
Which
baby kicker.
It's a baby kicker because Wahoo have had the top end direct drive trainer and they've had the lower end wheel on trainer, nothing in the middle. Boom, it slots right in the middle.
Yep.
So now they've got 3 options to choose from there. So this is, it makes sense for what they've done with this. The specifications are a little bit lower than a kicker. I think they might have done themselves a little disservice because this core is silent, and we'll get to silence in a minute on the other product.
Yeah.
Through axle support and climb support, and a 12-pound flywheel. So this is going to do quite well, I think, in this market for that price. They've also announced the Kicker headwind. Now, the headwind is really, really interesting.
It's a very expensive fan.
It is. It is. I won't dispute that. But on the experience side of things, this is the product that we all wanted. We've all had the idea for this 5 minutes in to a Zwift race when we forget to turn our fans on. It's out of reach. If you stop pedaling, you'll spat. So you'll do that Zwift race dripping in sweat. As a smart fan, you can turn it on remotely. So it solves that problem of just turn the fan on. Or it just starts up automatically. There's a few things still to come on that in regards to automation. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
Smart fan, so it puts out a lot of wind. Now, I'm not just talking, it's just another fan. If you stand in front of this thing, you'll know the difference between a normal fan. I'm not doing a sales pitch, but
I interviewed Chip, and we'll hear that later on in the episode. And Chip says, I mean, I must admit, I don't know how they classify fans, but he said it's a 1 horsepower motor. That sounds like a big fan to me.
It's got 2 on the side and 1 outlet. So the direction of it, I guess they've done some very good design on exactly what it's designed for. It's specifically for cycling and working out indoors, rather than cooling your kids down or they're in the room or something like that.
It's got a whole horse in it though, Shane.
A whole horse? Well, we'll have to take one apart and see. But giddy up on that. And then finally, the third product announced, and I think one close to my heart because it was the original smart trainer that I bought, the Kicker 18.
Yeah.
The biggest revision we've seen to the Kicker since the Kicker back in 2014. Yeah. Bigger flywheel, but it's quiet. It addresses the one
Very
issue.
silent.
It addresses the one issue we all talk about in the forums about. Well, it's got a bit of a whine to it. That was the which one do I go for when deciding about smart trainers? They've solved that problem. So happy days there, and it is quiet. I have one data point from back home where my wife Veronica jumped on one morning and she didn't know what trainer was there. She just pulled one out and did the workout. I wasn't aware that she was doing the workout, and I'm sort of walking there. I'm like, oh, I couldn't hear the.
Can't be on the kicker, but.
Yeah, so it works, and that's a true data point that I had, and I did talk about that in my video.
Yeah, and we should mention Shane's videos because he's got six of them.
6 drops.
6 of them up there now, which you know, the traditional Shane deep dive. I mean, I think for this episode of the Zwiftcast, we're not going to deep dive like Shane does because that's what Shane does. What we're just going to do is kind of give a big overview, really, and initial impressions, and a bit of kind of directional stuff. Yeah. And if you want the real detail, head for Shane's YouTube channel where you'll find the usual set of very deep dives on a 6-time basis.
Yeah, and what I don't deep dive in, I then proxy it off to Ray, DC Rainmaker, who I'm here with at Eurobike as well. So I think we've got all angles covered here.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of coverage here. There's an awful lot of coverage.
It's really cool. We're talking about the products themselves, how they actually work and how they're used, rather than just the spec sheets you'll see elsewhere. So this is kind of cool to get hands on, and it's a lot of views already. We're only a few hours after those videos have dropped. Things are going very well. So people want to know about the cool new stuff. So that's why we're here.
Yeah, so, and it is a very busy Eurobike. So let's kick off with, I mean, that was a kind of overview. Let's kick off with a bit more of a detailed look at one of the brands. And here we are, Shane. We are approaching the Elite stand. And Elite pulled a little bit of a rabbit out of the hat, actually, with the Foro Pista, which is there's only 3 words for it really, which is designer smart bike. It's unbelievably beautiful, it's unbelievably expensive, and it works.
And unbelievably, it works.
It works.
Like a full trainer. I called it a concept piece.
Yeah.
Or actually, I called it a crazy horse because if you've seen the pictures we've probably got up on the screen here, viewers, it looks like a crazy horse.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it. It looks like something you'll sit in the corner, it'll win a few design awards, and there we go. Ray and I jumped on this thing yesterday. It's got erg mode, level mode, sim mode, broadcast now plus in Bluetooth, and has power accuracy of plus or minus 2.5%. These are the specs that we stopped and went, are you pulling our leg? Are you pulling our, what, this crazy horse? It's a full trainer. They've done them. It's surprising.
Well, I mean, the market it's aimed at, I mean, I've just spoken briefly to the Elite guys, and they're very clear, and their marketing materials are very clear. This is aimed at people, as you would expect, with an awful lot of money, because we're expecting this to retail at somewhere between 10,000 and 14,000 euros. And I mean, Peter at Elite just said, well, you know what, we're targeting the guys with yachts. Well, I mean, somebody has to, don't they? But it's functional. It's beautiful, but also functional. Well, I mean, would you buy? Say you had that kind of money. Say you had that kind of money.
No. No. I would have somebody buy a number of other trainers and then ride them for me for that kind of money. And
Do you know what?
coffee.
I kind of differ from you there, really, because
you like good design.
I do like good design.
Yes.
I've got a bit of a soft spot for very beautiful, pretty things, and this is a very beautiful, pretty thing that is incredibly functional. Now, I mean, I'm not going to buy it because, like, I don't have 10,000 euro lying about, but if I did, I might be tempted. Okay, let's move on and talk about something just a little more, shall we say, accessible to the average Zwifter, and even this is high end. But here we go, Shane. Let's move into the booth and talk about. Well, let's just take a look at this, because this is what we've seen an awful lot of, really. This Pura Pista that we've just been talking about, it's been attracting an awful lot of attention. It's a bit like, isn't it? It's a bit like, when you see fashion designers send something crazy down the catwalk.
This reminds me of the Homer Simpson car, but I think that's more of it's probably offensive to Elite and the designs. This is beautiful. It's not the Homer Simpson car that we saw. That was fully practical, just didn't look very good. It's left field. It's kind of confusing because you look at it and think it's not going to work, but it does. So what we see here is all the other media outlets at the moment all around this. There we have GCN, we've got Road.cc, we've got quite a few people around here. They're lagging a bit behind these guys. They must be very busy. But Ray and I were in first, and the Zwiftcast is here now too. A lot of people here, a lot of media, which is good to see.
Well, it's an eye catcher. It's the kind of thing you see at a show, but usually you see this at a show and it's non-functional. But this thing, as we have just said repeatedly, does actually work. Okay, let's move over to the Drivo 2.
I reckon if we spin at 180, it'll be right in shots.
We'll kind of battle our way through the crowds here.
I just nudged GC now.
Always a good thing to do. So, Shane, here we are standing next to the Drivo 2. I'll put some shots of it up as we speak. Well, I mean, what can we say here? I'll tell you what we can say. It's black and glossy. It
is the Dark Knight edition that Batman would approve of. That was one of the original criticisms of the Drivo 1, that it looked like a vacuum cleaner. This is still taking we've come to love the vacuum cleaner look at this thing, so it's quite unique. Black or charcoal, I guess, or a dark, so it sort of suits small bikes and dirty chains. But also they've ripped the legs off the Spider that was the Diretto and put the legs, same Diretto kind of legs on here. So just a little bit more wide stance on this thing, and a bit of a nose cone on the front. So, I mean, I did see somebody giving it some pedal actually, and he was moving around. He was moving around on this little bit of carpet. But the legs themselves were not moving. I mean, there was no side to side movement. It did look incredibly stable. And now Elite are making this very, very, very big claim that this is the most accurate smart trainer that you can buy. Now, and they're saying 0.5%. I mean, we are now getting into like stupid territory.
Yeah,
I'll say
we are really, because 0.5 or 1, does it really, really matter? And I have to say, the Neo, I mean, they claim a percentage in their marketing, but I've seen it tested at like way lower than that.
Humans are horribly inaccurate. We are just sugar-powered pieces of meat on top of a bike. We are not a motor. We are not a beautiful, consistent sine wave of a motor or anything around 2, under 2, good enough for everyone, I think. Even Chris Froome. Hang on, let me think of someone less controversial. Even any of the riders at the Tour de France at the moment being cheered on don't really need anything more than, or more accurate than 2%. That's good enough. As long as it's consistent, day in, day out, consistent with temperature changes, consistent with moving around, maybe no spin down, that's kind of handy to have. It's about the experience of the trainer. And power it's a solved problem already, I think. So, look, the original Drivo at around 1%, I believe, was always good baseline that I always used. 0.5, it's nice to see. It's a differentiator. And I guess in this game, it is about marketing too, isn't it? So, but look, for throwing my leg over and turning the pedals, that didn't change the experience. I had a bit more confidence in the data. The data was good. It wasn't the biggest selling point for me, though.
Yeah. I mean, I think where it will do well, and it's a very basic thing actually, it'll do well because it's black. I mean, it will. I mean, I do that kind of horrible white cream colour was a disincentive to buy, I do think.
The pink one sold very, very well.
Did it really?
They bought out a Tom Dumoulin's pink one after the Giro d'Italia win last year, I believe it was, and did really well because it wasn't the white, creamy, off-white coloured one. Yeah. But no, it's kind of cool. I don't mind it at all. It's a bit of a refresh as well.
Yeah.
Solid trainer.
Yeah. Good marks. Good. I mean, reacting to demand really. Everybody did want a black one, and now they've got a black one. So if you want a black Drivo, you can get a black Drivo. So elsewhere on these, the only other thing I think of note on the Elite stand is let's wander over and have a look at these rollers.
Now this is a very interesting one, and this is a value prop world first. We have seen here on the drive. Here we go. We're being shown there's some design in there as well. This set of rollers has flywheels. Now, normal set of rollers themselves, there's no real inertia with flywheel, no inertia on the rollers themselves. Once you stop pedaling, you come coasting to a stop, and you'll fall off.
So that's a flywheel inside there.
We have some weighted flywheel in here. Not only one, we have 2 weighted flywheels. So the pedal stroke
either
keep
side.
going.
So there's one this side as well, or just that side.
2 on this side.
2.
So just 2 on this side.
This is Peter Largo, who's a very important man at Elite. Hi, Peter.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah,
so
very well.
It's two flywheels, 2.7 kilos each.
Yep.
So total 5.4 kilos. The inertia effect, this is going to be maybe a strange number, the inertia effect is 1,200% greater than the previous version without the flywheel.
So
1,200%, Shane.
Well, you're starting from almost zero inertia as well. So I guess it's a good number. It's a good marketing number.
Sure.
But I'm really keen to have a look at these. I've done a number of videos on rollers. Rollers aren't mass market. Excuse me.
Have you ridden these yourself? Have you ridden these?
Not these ones in particular. They haven't allowed me to get on just yet. They might be a bit nervous because when I get on trainers first time, I think a lot of people get nervous after. We won't mention it. So very keen to get on these and ride Alpe Zwift. I have done Alpe Zwift on other rollers just to see if it can be done. These ones with the more inertial load, it's going to kick over that pedal stroke on the dead spot, which again adds to the experience of riding a bike. And look, at the end of the day, what these new additions to the trainer families are trying to do is just enhance the experience, so we don't even need to think about what we're on, just having a better experience. So we'll see how they go.
I mean, the thing with rollers, though, Shane, they're a bit, what should we say, they're a bit of an acquired taste. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've got to learn to ride them, really, if you've not ridden rollers before.
And then learn not to fall off.
And the risk of falling off is relatively high.
Now, here's something very interesting in regard to getting on rollers for the first time. A lot of it, because the bike is elevated quite high, a few inches, you've got to stand somewhere.
Yeah.
Elite have actually built in a step into the unit. So this thing steps. Now this is
cool.
I was quite surprised with this. The step here off to the left hand side of the unit. Now because this moves forward and back as well, the step pops up a little bit.
Oh wow,
so
now that is clever.
So it clears
that
itself.
is very clever.
So once you've stepped on here and jumped on the bike, the step stands up, and to jump off, step back down, and away you go.
Cool.
That's a pretty cool little design thing. Just the little tiny things that you might not pick up on, but when they make sense.
Yeah.
And I like seeing that. We'll see a lot of that this year and in the coming years of just optimizing a few things here and there that we'll just take for granted soon.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things missing in this respect. Yeah.
Rollers, I mean, they'll remain a niche product, won't they?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, certainly for Zwift, but certainly for competing on Zwift. I mean, the last thing I want to be thinking about when I'm racing on Zwift or going really hard is, can I keep my balance and shall I not fall off the rollers?
Have you ever gone through the S's on a set of rollers?
No.
A lot of people have gone through the S's and then some extra corners around it. It can get a bit wonky through the S's, especially.
Yeah.
I've been known to sort of grind a bit of an edge of a tyre on the side of these things, but that should be good. And another feather in their cap, I guess you'd call it, and a unique one at that, with the resistance and the inertia for the flywheel.
Well, you know, top marks to Elite for persisting with rollers, because the people who love rollers really love rollers, and Elite really are just, I mean, there are other roller manufacturers, but Elite are probably the only ones really making interactive, what they call interactive rollers or connected rollers.
Yeah, no others that I can see showcased here, so yeah, I guess that might be it.
Yeah. So that's Elite. A very exciting stand, actually, a very exciting booth at this year's Eurobike. So we're going to move along now. Shane, we'll talk in detail, I think, about Wahoo's offering next. But
yeah,
I know it's early days, but you've seen a lot of this stuff in advance, and I actually, in the few hours I've been here, I've worked my way around quite a lot of stuff. What's the standout for you? I mean, we've not mentioned, I have to say, we've not mentioned at all Tacx, which we ought to do, actually. So let's just rattle through Tacx. I mean, Tacx,
yes,
the Smart Bike, another beautiful looking thing, beautiful in a different way from the Elite offering, but the Tacx Smart Bike, Neo platform, obviously has moved on quite significantly from last year when it was simply a
which
prototype.
is good, because it has been almost 12 months since last year. We really needed to see that thing get a bit of a hurry on, and we have. We can now throw a leg over it this year. The one thing they've addressed, and this is a good thing, is that gear change feel that I've talked about on the Atom, which is more smooth sort of resistance changes and you weren't quite sure. There is a clunk, but it's what's really interesting.
It's like a digital clunk.
It is, and the way they've done it, and Ray and I were talking about this in the RV trip down, how they've done it, and doesn't really replicate real world what happens. And I've come to the conclusion it does, because when you change gear on a bike, you have effectively no resistance for just that microsecond, and then you feel like, oh, I've changed gear. That's the chunk you feel on the bike. So what they do on the Tacx Neo Smart Bike.
Oh, we're going this way. It's Tacx this way.
Yeah,
oh, yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah, let's keep going. Yeah. Sorry about the slight navigation error there, viewers.
So what they've done is, because they sample that flywheel and the resistance at 1,000 times a second, they can just, for a millisecond, a microsecond, take off that resistance and then kick it back in a little harder. So it feels like the chain is just a little bit off.
Yeah.
Which way are we heading?
Yeah. Towards Tacx. Are we going in the wrong direction?
Yep. Oh, sorry. Yep, we need to go through this way.
Okay, let's do that.
So how they simulate that is they remove the resistance from the flywheel, or from their, sorry, it's not the resistance unit, and then they kick it back in, because they can do that so quick, and that's exactly what happens out on the road. And going from big ring to small ring, that's what happens. There's no load on the pedals, and then it kicks in.
Yeah.
They've replicated that. What we need to see, though, is in the real world environment, that's as good in a little production sort of on the stand, we can click through the gears. What's it like when we really get it home, though, and really tear its head off on a Green Jersey Sprint or the Watopia Wall KOM?
Yeah. It was interesting. I caught actually Eric Min, CEO of Zwift, getting on it. I'm pretty sure it was for the first time. I don't know whether he's.
Do they have to put the seat down because Eric's? Sorry, Eric.
Yeah.
We love you.
No, that's a bit naughty, Shane. Actually, he's a very nice man. He may be shorter than you and I, but he's a very nice man. Which was Tacx.
The Smart Bike is adjustable.
Yes, the point being made that the Smart Bike is
and has adjustable cranks. Did you see that little that
from
little
170 to 175?
Now this is very interesting. A lot of Smart Bikes have locked-in cranks due to the, well, it's kind of hard. Power generate. It's how they measure power and all that. Anyway, you can actually change the crank. Well, it's not the crank length; it's the pedal length, which is effective crank length. Yeah. By a little plug behind the pedal, up or down a little bit. Very, very interesting.
It looks beautifully engineered.
That is a very nice little component.
It does look engineered. I mean, my first observation from the gear change was the buttons, the little paddle shifters. Well, they're not paddle shifters actually, but they're more like mouse buttons, a bit like Di2. But there's not enough kind of textural differentiation on them. You're not quite sure which button is which, but I think that will be a pretty easy problem to solve.
I think that's one thing that everyone's looked at and said, look guys, I just want a little bit of tactile feedback in the button itself. We can feel it through the pedals, which is where we thought we wouldn't feel it. But so they're looking at doing I think just a little bit of a refinement before full production.
I mean, have you had one to test?
No, I
before?
haven't. No.
So what's your kind of experience of riding on it?
A few minutes at Tacx HQ, which we snuck into the other day in Amsterdam, and just a few minutes here. So not a lot, and that's where we really need to bring it into the Llama lab test, controlled environment. More importantly, my environment rather than someone else's. So make sure it's the true experience.
Yeah, I mean, I had 5 minutes on it, but to be honest, riding trainers at shows,
it's hard.
It's not. I mean, for a start, you're nearly always too hot. Although the built-in fans did seem pretty effective to me, actually. I mean, I don't know when you're really hammering it.
They're right in your face,
fully adjustable as well. You can tilt them.
They are, and with those fans, and I'm just thinking about the smart fan concept and things like that. You'd be able to simulate a crosswind by having the left fan on rather than the right, or the right fan on rather than the left. So, I mean, we need to start thinking about this and start talking about this outside of the square. So you laugh, and it is kind of amusing. But we need to be having these conversations with this innovation to change the experience in maybe not next year or the year after, but we've got to start thinking 3 years in advance. Not just refining what we're doing, which we see a lot of refinement happening. But
now I'm just going to stop you there. That Italian bike, that crazy designer Italian bike. Did you notice? And I've butted in here because we're walking past.
I think it's a UK company. I think Simon's
this stand, which is Brooks England. I mean, they've branched out Brooks now, as you can see, into all manner of different things. But of course, most famous for their fantastic leather saddles. And what did we see on that Italian designer bike? A Brooks leather saddle.
Yes.
English saddle on everything else looked like super Italian. Anyway, that's the kind of thing that happens at Eurobike. You walk past the booth and something pops at your head. So that's what just happened. And we were talking about
future thinking, innovation, and all this. Now I'm going to slide you into a different topic here, Simon. Maybe forward and back a little bit. Maybe a bit side to side with what we've been talking about. Cyclops.
Yes. Well, let's just. I just want to finish off on Tacx. Are we nearly there, or are we walking around in circles?
We've got 3 days walking to get to Tacx. This is a big place. Teaser coming up on Cyclops. We've got something very interesting. We'll slide into that in a sec.
Well, while we get to Tacx, we'll just carry on talking about Tacx, if that's okay. So, neither of us have really had quality time on the Smart Bike. The sound has changed here, podcast listeners, rather than I know. It's just so full on in there, isn't it?
The word a group of cyclists in Melbourne call it is full noise. Full noise.
Full noise. And the background is they've got this like massive air conditioning system.
Yeah.
Which is just, I mean, you kind of get used to it after a while, but there's this incredibly pervasive machine sound.
Very industrial. Hang on.
Shane.
Slam dunk.
Okay, so here we go back into the hall. The nature of the sound will change. We are still on our way to Tacx, and we'll still carry on talking about Tacx. So we've only had a little time on the Smart Bike. I was impressed. I mean, it's very difficult to judge things at shows, but I actually was pretty impressed. And Eric said, actually, I don't think I ever finished the Eric story. Eric got off it and said, it feels like a bike.
There we go. What we need is the innovation, the technology we are going to be riding in the future needs to be, we don't need to learn how to ride it. We know how to ride a bike.
Yeah.
We should be able to jump on and use those same skill sets.
And here it is. Here it is. Here's Natalie, whose life actually is dominated by looking after Eric Min, isn't it, Natalie?
Yeah, it is.
Is it a hard job?
It is a very demanding job.
Does Eric do very demanding things?
No, it's not Eric, it's the rest of the team. Eric's easy.
But I think Eric has a 4 a.m. email habit, doesn't he?
Eric has a 24-hour email habit.
Well, Natalie is a very wonderful person who looks after lots of people as well. Have you had a go on this bike, Natalie?
I haven't, no, but I'm not going to do it while you film me.
Well, I think we'll leave you to your area of expertise, and Shane will carry on with our alleged area of expertise. So, Shane, we've reached the Smart Bike.
Hang on, I think we have to spin around for the viewers. Us with the camera behind.
Oh yeah.
Hang on, here go now. Put that so it's behind.
Okay.
You have to edit this one out with a big screen behind. It looks freaking awesome.
Oh yeah.
There we go.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've now reached the Tacx stand, and the absolute centerpiece is the Smart Bike.
There we are.
Here it is, and I've shot this on my other camera, which I think will be slightly better shot. So we'll go to those now. But so neither of us have really ridden it, Shane. But the 5 minutes I had, I was impressed. I mean, there's 2 or 3 things I saw straight away, which I think they need to fix, and I think they know they need to fix them. But they're talking about shipping in September.
Pretty soon?
Yeah, apparently so. Shipping in September. And let's get to the elephant in the room. Price round about €2,500. I mean,
yeah,
that's a big chunk of change.
We're not quite Watt Bike Atom level, but if we can enhance the experience that's worth that extra dollars, look, at the end of the day, I'm about the experience. If it's a good experience, well, I'll pay for it. So,
do you think it'll sell?
Look, we need to know a lot more about the bike. The concept is great. I love the fact that you pull it out, it's there, it's adjustable. The Q factor is not too wide. Again, if people are worried about that, it's not going to be a big issue. Crank length, we've got it's all there ready to go. We need to know more about the real experience. And I guess that's what a lot of the videos that I make on, rather than the marketing and we know the specs. We know how much wattage you can hold. We know it turns the cranks. We know that. What's it like to ride?
I mean,
that's the key. That's the key. If it's good, it'll be a seller for sure. It'll say big bucks.
I think you're right. I know you're very much about the experience, but I was talking to somebody who just jumped off it, and I just said to them, it was off camera. I just said, $2,500, would you? Is it worth it to you? And he said, actually, do you know what? It's worth $2,500 for me never to have to put my $6,000 bike on a trainer ever again.
There we go.
So there are different reasons for buying it other than experience. I think as long as the experience meets some basic needs, which I think it will.
Well, I think it will. Yeah, I guess to broaden the horizon, that's the experience of getting things set up. If they've broken that barrier down, and the experience of setting it up has been taken, it just takes away barriers. And if it's there in a bike, and I've always said, if you've got a bike on the trainer always ready to go, you're more likely to get up and ride it rather than have to put it on. So this bike is always ready to go. So in that respect, very good point.
Well, we shall see. I mean, shipping in September sounds very ambitious to me, but I got that straight from the horse's mouth from Simon Tacx. And in part 2 of the Zwiftcast, we will be talking to Simon and have a full interview with Simon. This is going to be part 1, by the way, because there's so much to get through. So let's finish off at Tacx, and we'll walk over to this marvellous little spinning display here, which is the Flux 2 Smart.
Now,
I mean, what really is there to say much new? What's it? It's Flux 2 with a haircut and having brushed his teeth, isn't it? Really?
Pretty much. They've given a little bit more clearance for long cage derailleurs, which is one of the Achilles heel of the original units. Whenever the word flux is mentioned, I get a bit nervous. And I think Tacx get a bit nervous when I'm around anything mentioned about the flux. Look,
they're over that now, though, aren't they?
I hope so. We got to version 3 of them sending me trainers not to break, and the third one's okay. I'm keen to get the Flux 2 and have a look at that. A few refined specs, but really, what we're looking at here, if you were to quickly glance at this, you wouldn't know any difference, to be honest. It's a little prettier with some design changes. I think it's just more of a revision, and I guess internally, maybe a little bit more robustness as well.
A refresh, I think, a little refresh, and very nice little spinning display. So is that it for Tacx? I think it more or less is for Tacx, isn't it? Was there anything else new?
That is, but I'll give you a small teaser of stand by for more later on, I'm sure. This can't be all from Tacx.
Stand by for more later on. Shane, that's a bit crap. You're going to have to do better than that.
I think this year we'll see more trainers. Eurobike is really early this year. It's 2 months earlier. We're seeing a lot of announcements rather than actual product. I think we'll see more from Tacx. I think we might.
Okay, let me throw a bit of bait in the water then.
Sure.
Neo 2. It's kind of about time, isn't it?
Well, I haven't heard about the Neo. And I'll be honest with you, I haven't heard anything about it. They've got to be thinking about it. The Neo is pretty old. The technology is still really good, though, and it still works. People still love their Neos. And only now, others are coming up to the baseline that the Neo has set with a quieter kicker today, finally. So I think they've been a little lazy on the Neo side of things, not refreshing it and keeping it new because they didn't really have to. I think they're going to have to do something very soon, though, or even just allude to maybe a Neo 2. I haven't heard it, but are they going to call it the Neo 2? They're going to call it the Morpheus or something? I don't know. They've got to keep things fresh. We shall see. It's got to be something else.
All right, well, we think there's something else coming from Tacx. I tell you what, let's just there's a guy on the Smart Bike here. Let's just wander over.
I couldn't see him. He was in cargo pants. He was in cargo pants. I couldn't see.
Here he goes. So, hello, you're live on the, well, not live, but you're on the Zwiftcast now, which is the podcast for Zwifters.
Okay.
And you're on the Tacx Smart Bike. What do you make of it?
It's okay.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay, like €2,500 okay, or?
I think so, because I have one from another vendor for 2K, and that's better than mine.
Right. And
It's good.
Does it feel like a bike? Does it ride like a bike?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, you can't really ask for better than that, Shane, really, can you?
Real world review, and Simon's done well, sticking a camera in someone's face who's sweaty. Bold move.
Poor man, he looks a little bit surprised actually.
There we go.
Now, just as a side issue, I mean, it's not in our world this, but the stand opposite us. Let's just take a look at that, because this is my God. I mean, this is the Colnago stand.
Now, we saw this last year because the booth we were in last year, we could see into this.
I mean, look at this place. Do you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of walking into, not that I do this very often, but it reminds me of walking into a kind of high-end fashion store on Fifth Avenue.
I was going to say a medical clinic. But no, it's got the nice white bright. Now on camera, this should be beautiful. But if you just scroll up there to the right there, Simon, the booth up there has a leather couch, coffee machine, air conditioning. There's also got a time trial bike up there, which is kind of cool to see as well. But these guys do it right.
And the way that the bikes are displayed, and
very similar to the Elite stand. It's very polished, good to see. And
but this is bikes as high fashion, isn't it? This is bikes as luxury item, high fashion. I mean, look at that white bike there, displayed on the white stand. I mean, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But this is not. I know this is a trade show, but this is not how cycling used to be, is it?
It used to be like this in magazines, but we're now seeing this sort of like a studio shot set up at a trade show. It's not just sort of things on the wall, go through the inventory, what do you want, that's bulk order, because this is a B2B conference that we're at, effectively, a show.
But well done, Colnago. I mean,
I'll take that one over there on the end, though. The dark one.
Yeah, we'll take that one.
On my dark Drivo 2.
Yeah. Oh, look at that retro one there. I quite like that.
We're like kids at a candy store, you know. We just...
That's rather
There's
beautiful.
Something to have a look at all the time.
That is rather beautiful. Look at the paint finish on that. Anyway, Shane, we're getting distracted.
I feel sorry. We're talking about paintwork for a podcast. It's caramel red, deep red.
I think that's a very famous red, actually. It's a very famous Colnago red, actually. Okay. I forget the name of it. I think it was associated with the World Championship.
Deep Epo red, deep blood.
You didn't say Epo red, did you?
I did.
Go easy, boy. Go easy, boy. Go easy. Okay, well, let's wander over now. We've kind of done Tacx. Wahoo's really close, isn't it? So
we've skirted Wahoo. Those keen viewers may have seen us just past that stand before. Let's head back over.
Yeah, let's take a walk over there. I mean, we kind of did Wahoo in some depth in the little intro piece, actually, but 3 new products. The Climb
big day.
Finally is available to buy.
And that's Ray and I spoke about this. It did save them a little bit of, I guess, maybe criticism they may have had by not shipping a product after between Eurobikes, because they announced it last year and it only just started shipping this year. So they snuck in. They just snuck in with the shipping of the Kicker Climb.
Yeah. So here we are. Now, I asked this question of Chip Hawkins, the president of Wahoo. The last couple of Eurobikes I've been to, Wahoo's stand has been modest.
There's called a
modest.
Okay,
I would say
Eurobike. And what I found out from Ray, that Eurobike is owned by the Messe here, the conference hall. So they put that on.
Yeah, it's so expensive to exhibit.
It's very hard to get in here because people book years and years in advance. And if you're a newbie, hey, you start at the bottom.
Yeah.
Wahoo were crammed away.
Oh, is that what it was? It wasn't a pricing thing.
No, they were crammed into the corner. Even though they had some pretty good, well-established products, Wahoo were crammed in a corner for a year. The year after, they were a little better. This year, centre stage. Look at this. So we have a big meeting booth at the top. Now, one thing, if people are unaware of what happens at Eurobike, it also looks like we're walking around and looking at all the eye candy. Behind the scenes, nearly every booth has a meeting room. It's B2B.
Yeah.
All around the world. So
in fact, there it is upstairs.
There's a stairwell here.
Upstairs, there's meeting rooms over there.
Multiple rooms. So nearly every booth here has a meeting room, and they'll be sitting down and getting to meetings. So you've got to schedule in meetings if you want to talk to people. Wahoo is set up this year. They've done really well. And I've spoken to all the team here today because I had 3 videos drop. And look, I keep a track of the comments and the general vibe about a new product. Is it going to do any good? I mean, I'm passionate about their stuff they make. I ride it, I use it, I like it, but it's got to get out there in the community. Do they like it? they look like buying it. So all smiles from the Wahoo booth already.
Yeah. And these three products now, let's just wander over and just remind viewers and listeners what they are. These three products are the brand new Kicker, which is billed as being totally silent, and the Climb, which is finally available, and the Wahoo Headwind. So this is the kind of, this is the, well, this really is the, it's the Wahoo package, isn't it? It's the Wahoo package.
They're after an ecosystem. So if you want to go into a shop or go into and just buy a solution that'll all work together, so I can see exactly the angle they're going for. The technology that we connect here, and this trainer to that software to this head unit to this, it can get a bit confusing. There are standards that are still emerging and can be a bit tricky. So what they're aiming for here is you can just go in for one company, one solution, and also the support of that is a lot easier for them and good for the consumer, from my perspective anyway. You have one point of contact who might be able to help you out getting everything up and running, and when it works, you're good, you're going.
Okay. And if you buy all three, you know, you might get a discount. They do bundles, don't they?
They need to incentivise that, to keep it all in the same family, and it's cheaper for them as well.
Yeah.
So rather than, because, I mean, no doubt, they'll get support queries about, oh, I've got your trainer, but it's hooking up to this head unit and this, they'll have to do support of other companies at the same time. But if you keep it in the whole system, keep it all together, put a bolt on the front, you know, they've got the options there anyway. And through the same distribution channels, which is also handy.
Yeah, definitely so. And I mean, we'll just have a brief mention of the baby Kicker. This is it over here, the Kicker Core. It's tiny, isn't it? I mean, it really is small.
It's a bit of a bum.
Do you think we're seeing really the end of the wheel-on trainer, or the beginning of the end of the wheel-on trainer?
This is very close to something that's almost at the price point of a good high-end wheel-on trainer in a direct drive. The specs of this, I think Wahoo may have done themselves a bit of a disservice by making this such a high-spec mid-range unit. I think this is going to be maybe a Diretto killer for sure.
Yeah.
It's got some good braking power. It's got a flywheel size very similar to that of the Kicker 1, Kicker 2. It's quiet.
Yeah.
So maybe, is this even an upgrade path for those with a Kicker 1 or Kicker 2? Maybe a Kicker 3. Probably a Kicker 1 or Kicker 2, it's not Climb compatible. This little baby unit here does it all.
Yeah.
I haven't thrown the leg over yet though, so I mean, again, if it holds up as it does on paper, we shall see.
But I mean, there's what now, $100, $150 in it between a wheel-on and a wheel-off trainer. I mean, is there any point any longer in buying a wheel-on trainer? I mean, they're finicky, they go through tyres.
Ease of use. Because some people, I mean, taking a wheel on and off, that's probably about it. So some people aren't confident with doing that, and I totally get that.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to move on, Simon, because I see something other than Zwift on the screen.
Yeah.
Only kidding. We have
now look what's showing on the screen. Road Grand Tours.
We have Road Grand Tours. And look, I had a chat to Alex today. Alex is here, and look, they're very proud of their product. So it's good to see, again, talking about competition in this space, we do like it.
Walking away from the Wahoo booth, just literally around the corner, we come across a very familiar colour.
We know these guys.
The colour orange, and here we are, Zwift at Eurobike. I mean, not hugely eventful for Zwift, I don't think. I mean, Android release. I don't know whether that was timed to coincide with Eurobike, but
dropped out of the sky, that one.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. I think it's been quite well received by people. I mean, I think people are very, very, very pleased to see Zwift trying to get Android right. We know it's a huge challenge with so many different devices out there. But I think just to show that they really mean what they say when they're going to get it onto the Android platform, it's very important.
We've seen a few delays from Zwift, I think, haven't we? Recently we've seen a few delays in things coming out. Look, but they're true to their word. They had Zwift on show here on the Android device last year. And here we've got the open beta, and it does work. It does work. Now, the challenge they have for Zwift, and we've said it all along, that something like Trainer Road or something other software that controls the trainer isn't 3D graphic rendering a whole new world. Zwift is very, very resource intense. It is a 3D environment. It's not just a game on screen. What actually happens to draw those little pixels on the screen that we hear, that can happen with a high-powered device, an iPhone, an Apple TV, a PC, and a Mac. It's kind of hard to do and present a usable experience across the board, and that's what they're having trouble with, or will be having trouble with. As you said, the response has been quite good. I thought people would be very angry when it came out, but given coming out in a beta, where it's, look, this is just a test, it may not even work, people are still happy to try it out. So it's a really good, again, I think Zwift is built on the beta days. You and I, back in the beta days, and we brought them through that and helped out, and as a lot of people and a lot of listeners have done as well, it's happening all over again. So it's a good thing. I like it. If they had to come out as this is final polished product, then there would have been some problems.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's very clearly beta. The funniest comment I saw on one of the forums was I'm complaining because Zwift on Android doesn't run on my microwave.
Yes, look, I'm sure they're working on that. But again, microwaves and Ant Plus signals, it can get a bit tricky, so it might have to be Bluetooth. They'll work on that.
They will. Okay, so this is the Zwift stand then.
Look at those orange jerseys.
Jesper, which a few people may recognise. A couple of very fit-looking people demonstrating the product.
Where do we get that kit from? I want to know.
And the usual orange. They are actually. They have teamed up with
Look,
Tacx.
yeah, and then this is what happens at Eurobike all the time. This is what happens. Hang on.
Here's one of our friends from Tacx. He's a bit of a...
He's a character. Now, who we've just spotted is Hilco. Now, Hilco is part of the team that look after Tacx support.
Yeah.
So if you want to have a major issue with any Tacx product, he's the guy who'll probably see it, or escalate to. Fantastic personality. And they're real people behind the scenes.
Yeah,
a lot of people are here on the ground.
You often see Hilco in the forums, actually. He'll jump into the forums and answer questions.
He never doesn't have a smile. You saw him. He's over in the background here. We should get him on the show one day. But really good, interesting guy, but loves and breathes the product and actually cares about it. And you'll see those people here. I've seen the product managers over at the Wahoo booth as well, still there talking about their product. A lot of them are a little nervous today too, because and the reason being is all these people, Ray, myself, Simon, we're releasing content about their products that they've been working on for a long time. It's their babies we're talking about. So these people are here to support their products here as well. So good to see Hilco walking around and knowing their products in and out. It's good.
Okay, well, we've got to move on now because I can see my memory card. I'm shooting this in 4K, which may prove to be a poor decision, but my memory card's running out. I think there's just enough space to go and see Cyclops. So let's wander over and see Cyclops, where big news on the Rocker platform, the Rocker plate movement.
It's called The Thing. I've called it the Don't Know Star Wars device. Let's go have a look.
Let's go have a look at it. Okay, well, we've crossed from Hall B we were in before, Hall B, to Hall A. Yeah, it was a bit...
We've hauled ass across there. It's a long way.
Yeah, it is, yeah. I mean, the distances at Eurobike are just enormous. Anyway, we find ourselves, Shane, at the Saris stand. Now, Saris is the overall name. It will be familiar to cyclists, obviously, but Cyclops is the brand that most of us will know. And here we are with the very first kind of properly commercially available rocker plate.
Yeah, this is
a product about which you are, shall we say, ambivalent.
Yeah. I'm still on the fence, and as I said, I can go either way with a rocker plate. Bad joke? Okay, we won't go there. Now look,
that was terrible.
What they've done is taken the community style rocker plates that we see, we're familiar with, and just added it to the next level. They've actually got a bit of an up and down, forward and back motion on the thing as well, so there's a bit more freedom to move. Another axis, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah.
Has it solved the problem? I'm not sure. Again, we need more time on this.
What's the problem though? This is where you and I differ, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll just take a look at this while we're talking. So what is the problem, Shane? I mean, as you see it, it's like, well, I don't like rocker plates because I can't sprint on them, or if I do, they feel nothing like real life. And I'm like, but that's not what they're for, Shane. What they're for is to make long rides on trainers a little bit more comfortable.
I think you're being too generous. I think you're being too generous in something that's not quite there. What I'm looking for is a device that, when you step on it indoors, it's exactly what you know outdoors. So if you outdoors, if you want to go up for a sprint, you know how to change that gear on the dead spot, you know how to swing the bike, it swings under you, the bike jumps underneath you. I want that exact same experience inside. These rocker plates aren't quite there with that yet, but this is getting closer. With my short time on this yesterday, this is a little closer with that. Is it the solution? I'm not sure. Is it a solution? Absolutely. And this is also multiple trainer compatible. So we're not just looking at we are looking at the Hammer, or a brand new Hammer H2 on this one.
It's a big old beast though, isn't it?
It's a bit of a TIE fighter. It's, I don't know.
I mean, they haven't got this in two pieces. It looks like it doesn't fold at the moment.
I believe that's what they're looking at.
Yeah. I mean, surely it will have to fold for shipping, you would have thought.
Absolutely.
And I get the sense your attitude is slightly softened.
This is closer.
Yeah.
This is closer to what I'd like to be seeing. again, as I said, it's not quite there yet. I don't think. Again, we need to bring things home into a familiar environment. As we were talking about before, testing something in an artificial environment that is a big trade show where everything's perfect. We want to see these things at home and on our bikes, I think, is the key with this.
Well, also how they fit in our rooms. I mean, my immediate thought about this is, I mean, it significantly increases the footprint. Although, I don't know, maybe not actually, because the front wheel kind of, you know, the front wheel comes off the end of it there. So, I don't know, the footprint might be similar perhaps to...
Yeah, there is.
So the footprint we're used to working
searching
with.
for like the smart bikes, trying to squeeze them down in size. Look, there's going to be a certain point where there starts to be a bike underneath this, and something has to be robust to actually work. Any smaller than this probably wouldn't work. Humans we're heavy beasts, and we put out a lot of power in sprints. They need to be able to take into account this. I did rip out a bit of a sprint on this yesterday, and it held up just fine. So size-wise, I don't have a problem, but I'd love, again, more time, more data.
Yeah.
But I do like the fact that Cyclops have come to market with this. They've come to the biggest trade show in the world and showed something like this. There's got to be a bit of nervousness there, I guess, introducing something like this. No one else has touched something similar to this just yet in the market. So, hey, first one's here. First one's here.
Well, they are. And as we're about to see and hear, because I do have this piece ready, this is one of the pieces I had ready pre-Eurobike. They've actually been working on this, I don't know whether you knew this, they've been working on this 8 years. So they watched the whole DIY thing last winter and they were like, oh my God. Anyway, let's hear a little bit more about that, because here's one I made earlier, as they say.
The remarkable explosion in DIY rocker plates last winter, as documented by the Zwiftcast, took pretty much everyone by surprise. But there was one notable exception. Saris, the company behind the Cyclops brand, amongst others, has been developing something similar for a long, long time.
8 years ago, we made our first full prototype of a system you could put a trainer and a bike on.
That was BJ Bass, the chief mechanical engineer at Cyclops, and yes, you did hear that right. He did say 8 years.
You must have been completely vindicated when you saw this flowering of the DIY movement.
Yeah, it was exciting, and at the same time, it's terrifying to watch.
Terrifying because the engineers in Madison, Wisconsin were desperate that the DIYers didn't discover what they felt to be their secret weapon: fore and aft movement. How much travel is there on that?
So from there to there that's 9.5 inches.
At the Saris HQ, I was shown some late-stage prototypes of the platform that combines fore and aft and side-to-side movements. The fore and aft discovery, made almost by accident, was an instant hit with early testers.
That first prototype happened to allow just a little bit, like 3/4 of an inch or an inch of fore-aft movement in it, and that's what everyone responded to. This fore-aft movement is what really makes the difference when I'm accelerating, when I'm riding up a hill. That virtual environment really drives that need for fore-aft movement.
The advantage of fore and aft, say Saris, is that it more accurately mimics outdoor riding by making it easier to do inside what we all do outside instinctively, and that's to get through the dead spots in the pedal stroke.
When the pedals are horizontal, you produce a lot of torque, and when the pedals are vertical, you produce basically no torque. And to get through that moment where the pedals are vertical, you shift the bike just a hair underneath you. If you have this 20-pound bike that you shift underneath you, it's pretty easy movement. But when you're riding a trainer, in my case, I have a 200-pound weight that I have to move back and forth the same amount, which is a lot of work. It's hard on your knees. And so what the fore-aft movement in the platform gives you is a much lighter weight object to move through that dead spot.
Both movements are built into a full-length platform and are able to work at the same time, but independently of each other.
As you move fore-aft, there's nothing stopping the side from acting in exactly the same way at any point in that movement. So the two are very independent. Honestly, the science behind this screams for it. Everything that everyone knows about indoor cycling is about to change. We've all trained on indoor trainers here for a decade, and they have been uncomfortable, and everything about getting on a trainer is about getting your workout done as fast as possible. And if you can be off of that thing in 20 or 30 minutes, that is the goal every time. I think this changes that.
Okay, Shane. Well, the little symbol on my viewfinder here, I think, is telling me that I have absolutely filled up the memory card on this. So, I think I will actually edit this evening and try and get something out really quickly. So, day one, we've seen a lot. We've both managed to cover a lot of ground already. What's the standout thing for you?
Standout thing for me. Now this is left field. I mean, we've got all the trainers. I love the new trainers, the new tech. There's a pair of gloves with a llama on them, and I'm going to get myself a pair right now.
I'd be very surprised if you didn't.
David, thank you for that.
Well, I'm going to stay on topic actually, and oh, somebody's clapping. They have demos and stuff.
They like the
here as well.
Zwiftcast. They saw Simon.
The standout thing for me, I've got to say, just because it took my breath away, was the Elite Smart Bike. I mean, I know it's stupid. No, well, I know it's
the
stupidly
design thing.
expensive.
Yes.
I know it's stupidly expensive, but goodness me, it's desirable. I mean, it really is.
I'll have to add, there's companies taking risks now in this space, coming out with products that may not sell, may be ridiculed, but they are taking risks, and I do like to see that. Yeah. And as consumers, we can sit back and watch that to no cost to us, whether you want the climb, whether you want the headwind, whether you want the crazy horse, whether you want the smart bike or not. You still get to choose that now if it's out in the market. So it's really good. And the rocker plate, I can't forget that behind us here.
Yeah.
Really good to see companies innovating and taking those risks and putting them in front of everyone.
Yeah. And just to finish on this, I mean, it's a way more exciting Eurobike this year than last year for us.
Tenfold, absolutely. I mean, my videos lined up, what did we say at the start? 6 videos. Yeah. You've got content everywhere. This won't be the first or last Zwiftcast will do on this one. Yeah. Heaps of stuff to talk about.
Yeah. Yep, there certainly is. So for now, I am going to head back to my hotel room and try and get this edited and uploaded. Bandwidth issues permitting. Well, I think I'll at least get the audio version up. So for now, thank you for watching if you've been with us all the way through, and we hope to have a little bit more tomorrow. Thanks very much. See you later.